everyone. Welcome to week 8 here in Reddit League. We are in Italy this week, and I'm Zatomo, and I'm joined as always by my co-commentator Calamity. How are you doing today?
Same old question. I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How's the weather today?
Hot still, but thankfully it's like the last day. They're saying there'll be rain from tomorrow onwards until at least the middle of next week. So that's fun.
It's been pouring down rain all day today, so I think it's clear days tomorrow, but it's a nice day to be inside and casting some Reddit League Geoguessr. We've got a great matchup for you all today in Division 2 here. We've got RadoX and MTheBassman. Both players, Calamity, who are not exactly where they want to be in the division table as we near the end of the regular season.
I mean, I think MTheBassman is relatively happy with his position. Whether he's necessarily happy about all of his scores and games is maybe a different matter. But I think he said so before that he's fine if he just stays somewhere mid-table. And that's where he currently is, in 7th place. RadoX definitely can't be happy about his position. I think Slovak wasn't disqualified or didn't resign from the league at this point, so he technically had him behind him at that point. But currently then in last place. And yeah, he really needs some points. I think it's not too far apart at this stage in those relegation spots. Seppo and Guello is on sort of similar points at the moment, but then the gap to the non-relegation spots is already getting quite big. So unless he wants to go through the relegation playoffs for a 3rd season in a row, or even worse, get directly relegated, he needs to start picking up some points. But this is probably not a bad game to start. He is slightly behind MTheBassman in average points, but not 1,000, so it's not too far. And they're even on aces, so he's got an alright chance for a good performance here, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely possible to see if he can't get his first real win of the season here. Slovak is in Division 3, Calamity. So blockchain blockchain prenup was red carded last week, which gave RadoX his 3 points there. He picked up a point for a bonus point one of these weeks. But yeah, he's definitely will be hoping to get an actual win here against MTheBassman as we take a look at the map of Italy. Average score 14,105 points over 150,000 locations, which should be expected from a polygon map of a country. And it's been played 2,362 times here. Yeah, Calamity in this one, both Europeans, RadoX a little bit closer, being a border. Do you think that gives them any advantage here against MTheBassman?
Not necessarily. I think they've both not got too much against Italy. Whether just the proximity to the country itself gives RadoX a better chance, I wouldn't necessarily say so. Maybe something that's close to the border. But RadoX himself doesn't really live next to the border to Italy. So, yeah, as I said, not necessarily an advantage, but he might know a couple more cities. But then again, MTheBassman is a football fan as well, so he might know a lot of the bigger cities just by virtue of knowing football clubs from there. But yeah, as I said before, I think they're not too dissimilar in terms of how good they might be in Italy.
Okay, well, maybe a very even matchup, which will prove to be a very fun game to watch between these two. So without further ado, let us jump right into round number 1. And got a really interesting setup from MTheBassman this time, as we get a big city name right off the start.
Big city name in the sense that the sign is big that the city name is on.
Yeah, literally a big city name, I didn't say the city was big, I just said it was a big city name. Fun parsing that one out in English in linguistics class. But I think the smaller city underneath that we've seen in one of our other games already. So we should point us towards the northern part of Italy. And sure enough, that is where MTheBassman zooms in. And quite a few, we got a little bit of an intersection here for RadoX as well, which gives him quite a few city names and distances. Oh, Italy is not always nice in giving those, but we get him in this case at least.
Yeah, RadoX took about 5 seconds to decide which direction to go. Ended up going west, and he is looking in sort of the northern area as well, just a lot more west than MTheBassman is.
Yeah, and already we're into map scrolling territory
RadoX
here.
does have Vercelli on his screen there, north of him. There we go.
There we go.
And MTheBassman found it at the exact same time.
Well, we should see them jumping back to the starting location to figure out where they exactly are on a north-south road that curves to the west with a junction off to the right heading into town. And that seems to be what Bassman is looking at here. RadoX still a bit out, not back towards the starting location. And there he goes. And now he will look at this. It's a pretty good intersection to use for pinpointing, Calamity.
In theory, yes. If you've watched my video, then you'll see in practice, it's all right.
Not really. Yeah. RadoX a bit too far north. He needs to adjust to the further south location. There we go. MTheBassman confident and will guess a whole minute early, but get the ace nonetheless. And I didn't unsync their controls for some reason. And RadoX will have about a minute left to go, and as he will put his pin in ace territory. So at most, MTheBassman will be a point up. But it looks like RadoX is going to do his due diligence here and use his time to ensure his location. Just a few more seconds, in fact, and we'll get the ace as well. So yeah, nice intersection. They managed to find that small village name, and a perfect start for both of them. Calamity.
Not enough well with perfect scores. Yeah, RadoX could definitely use a perfect game as well for his points. So maybe we're talking about that very early, but we'll see.
Yeah, a bit early to talk as we get into round number 2. But hey, if you want a perfect game, you got to get a perfect first round. And they've checked that box. So, and another sort of urban location, at least are surrounded by buildings.
Yeah, it's an industrial area, which can sometimes be a bit annoying. There's actually, what does it say there?
4 for an area code, I believe.
I was more thinking of the city itself. I think it did say the city that they're close to there, but yeah, a bit too blurry and too small to read from the videos.
Yeah, might very well be. If they can't work their way into the main city. Here we got a nice sign for RadoX here. If they can get a version of it that's not blurred out as MTheBassman comes up on this same intersection. There we go. Cosenza and Magone.
Yeah, Cosenza, very big city. Both of them should know that one.
Sure enough, MTheBassman does. See if he can't. There we go. There's a very nice sign for RadoX there. That should definitely help him.
Yeah, it also mentioned Calabria there on the bottom right, or the bottom of the right sign. So that at least gives him the region, if he didn't know the city.
Yeah. But now it's down to figuring out where exactly he's starting off with. There we go, an A3 for RadoX. That'll give him even some more help as he finally moves into the map with about a minute and a half to go still in round number 2.
I don't think either of them have...
He just moved his pin away from it, so...
Yeah.
Not quite as confident.
I mean, they're not in Cosenza, clearly.
Yeah, but the town name... What is it? The Magone or...
Mangona.
Magona.
Yes.
He's looking quite far away.
You sounded like you made a point and then stopped.
Oh no.
You started, but the town name,
Final.
and then stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think either of them actually know which town they're in.
Yeah, they've seen it a few times, but oh, as we say that, MTheBassman I think just found it on the map. As the train goes out past your window. Yeah, so I think MTheBassman has found it. He's gone back trying to figure out where exactly the road is he started on, and RadoX with less than 30 seconds left is still a bit confused. He needs to zoom in a bit further to see the town name.
Yeah, this is sort of the same that I was talking about in Fierce's match, I think, where he's looking way too far away from the city of Cosenza. That's better now.
Maybe MTheBassman hasn't found it. He found an M city and clicked on it, and
I mean, they're not in Magona for a start.
There we go. Well, time run out on them nonetheless. 4,559 points for MTheBassman. Not quite what he was hoping. I think he might have thought he found the village, but not really. And RadoX not confident in his guess. 2,996 for him. So plenty of information, just both of them spending most of their time on the map, not able to find anything really.
Yeah.
Calamity in that round. Interesting.
MTheBassman's point loss there is, I mean, I want to say forgivable. It's nothing that you really need forgiveness for, but it's understandable. That's maybe a better way to phrase it. In that Mangona is a town that you have to zoom in very far for to see it, and even then, it's not the town they were in the first place. So even then, but still, RadoX, yeah, that was not a good guess. As I've said before, if it says Cosenza there and no other really big cities, then it's reasonable to assume that you're somewhere close to it, potentially 20, 30 kilometers away, but not 70 or however many kilometers RadoX was away. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess without any actual like kilometer numbers on the signs, it is a little bit hard to guess, but they are on the sign, so they can't be too far away. So at least if you have no other information, guess is in the general vicinity is a lot better than nothing. For them. So yeah, well, they're off that perfect game after that one, and MTheBassman goes into round number 3 here with quite a point advantage, about 1,500 or so. And we're in a more rural location here, overlooking a nice little valley.
Yeah,
not too bad.
If you want to make points up, this looks like the right place.
Yeah, definitely a place you can make up points. So RadoX will be looking not to dig himself into even a bigger hole and make up some ground here. But first, they've got to find a sign. Calamity?
Yes, any sign. None of them found so far. And unfortunately, this looks like, there's certain regions in Italy where you're more likely to find useful signs. And then there's regions where it's like, you kind of know that even if you do find a sign, it's going to be pretty useless. And this is one of those regions.
Yeah, you can see from where we are that there is nothing urban anywhere close to you, which means there aren't going to be signs to noticeable cities, major roads, and whatnot.
Yeah.
To be looking forward to. So your best hope is to do what they do. Just keep on clicking and hope. I don't know. There's a van. There's a something.
Yeah, it's.
There's an alarm for MTheBassman.
Generally, these very hilly national park areas through Italy, sort of in the center of it, as well as around like between Genoa and Florence, that area, they don't really provide you with that many great signs. And they will make their way into a town.
Again, very small. Might be a bit tricky to find any numbers. That is an SP road number, I believe, that MTheBassman saw. That was a bit blurry, but again, too small to really do any good. So they're starting to see some signs, so all hope is not lost, but not too big.
Mm-hmm.
And again, will prove to be a bit tricky. RadoX a bit behind MTheBassman in terms of travel, seeing these signs a little bit later.
Yeah, I think what you'd really want here is an area code, but Italy is not, especially in rural areas, not the most generous at giving out area codes.
Mm-hmm. Well, MTheBassman, with under a minute left, is going to start to bet maybe somewhere in Sardinia. Put a pin down on the island. RadoX yet to open the map. I don't blame him for that. He hasn't had a lot of information to spend any time looking at the map. He's trying to make the most of every second he's got.
Yeah, but
there's a SP number for MTheBassman again, which will make him shift his guess maybe towards the main body of Italy. RadoX putting himself amongst those national parks that you mentioned, Calamity, in the middle of the country, and MTheBassman will run out of time, as well as RadoX. 827 points for MTheBassman, so he at least saves himself a few points by actually moving back to the main island. And, you know, Calamity, not a bad guess from RadoX at all. 3,370. Those national parks not being a bad guess in the end at all.
Landscape guess, yeah. And let me just quote MTheBassman here from a conversation we had on Discord. Sardinia and Sicily are pretty recognizable, in my opinion. Yes, so about that. Yeah, maybe not as recognizable as he thought. But yeah, that's quite some points lost there that will now turn the tables and will put RadoX ahead, I think, again. But it's still, I think it's still relatively close. I think RadoX is going to be about 1,500 points ahead now, after being 1,500 points behind earlier. Maybe a bit less, actually. But we still got 2 rounds. And as we saw with this round right here, everything's possible if you get a location like that in Italy.
Yeah, huge swing in points as we jump into round number 4. MTheBassman, 10,386 total. RadoX, 11,366. So about 1,000-point lead, just under, for RadoX. So a 2,500-point swing about. So yeah, definitely it can happen, but we're in a bit of a more urban location this time. So hopefully they'll find some signs.
Yeah.
As I say that, MTheBassman just heads straight out of town. So
when northern Italy village parts, that almost made sense. It made sense in my head before I said it, and then I think some words got mixed up. But there are some small town signs for RadoX there, if you can read them behind the trees.
Let's stop on the right spot. He's trying. He'll continue down the road looking for something. He's on a much better road. At least it's painted compared to MTheBassman's, who's wandering around back by some villas. There we go. There's a much better view of those signs that he had back there for RadoX. Again, probably nothing he's familiar with.
It does appear to be that way, considering he's not zooming into the map.
Yeah.
That's actually, now that I'm looking at the architecture, it does remind me of sort of the Alps in a way.
Yeah. Definitely would be perhaps more northern Italy. Some grapes growing as well. But for those of you who don't know, Italy has grapes all over the place. So some places it can help. Like, oh, this is the wine growing region, but Italy has quite a few of them, so not helpful. But MTheBassman does seem to think we are in the northern part of Italy as well, as he approaches a different village.
Ronero, yeah.
I get an SP160, so a little bit small. Again, RadoX finding lots of signs, but all of them pointing to very local destinations and not worthy of his time.
I feel like
he continues to move along.
Despite all those sort of back alley ways he took, MTheBassman made his way to the big city earlier than RadoX.
Yeah, he does seem to have managed to get somewhere helpful. And he's got a few city names, and he'll... There... Oh, did he find it? His screen is so small, I can't actually read what's on the map.
Seems like he recognizes some of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cuneo. Yeah, there.
Yeah, there we go. We are in the area. So we are in northern Italy, but western northern Italy. And with 10 seconds left, RadoX better put a pin down. We don't want to see him get skunked. And there we go. And he'll guess in sort of the middle mountains range, but unfortunately it won't be what he was hoping for. And Calamity, you said it, major swing as MTheBassman didn't pause at all. 4,800 and... No, 900?
899.
It is 899. Looked like he would get 999 out of that, but he didn't. Finding that village at the last second, but not able to backtrack based off of his movements from there. And RadoX just hedging his bets towards the middle, and unfortunately not working out here. 459 points for him and that one. So we're back to another massive point swing.
Yeah. But it's nice to watch this and cast this and see all the right directions that you could have theoretically taken. Because as I figured out after I finished playing, I pretty much took the wrong direction in every single of the 5 rounds, except for the one where the direction didn't really matter because there was no information anyway, which was round 3. So yeah, it's nice to see that there was, in theory, information in the city that MTheBassman went to, if you went the right way.
Yeah, sometimes these rounds definitely come down to, did you pick the right direction multiple times and find yourself at the right intersection with all the nice signs? And it seems like it did show up for MTheBassman here. So a bit of luck to pull himself back into the lead as we get into the last round. And Calamity, the gap is quite large, but again, could we see a third round where we completely switch? RadoX sitting at 11,825, MTheBassman 15,285.
Yeah, it's really pretty big at this point. It's 3,400 points roughly. And that is quite the distance in terms of points to make up. He'd need around where MTheBassman really has no idea where he is. And it doesn't look very likely. But they've not found any information yet, at least, so there's still a chance.
Yeah, RadoX would need almost a mirror of the last round, where he is in the 4,000 plus range and MTheBassman is below 1,000. As long as we continue on this streak, neither of them have any good information to use, so...
Yeah, the prerequisite for a comeback from RadoX is that he himself knows exactly where we are.
Yeah, at least in a general area. Town is proving difficult.
He seems to, again...
It is a map of Italy, but I don't think that points to anything.
Yeah, there is a map. There is Sardinia colored in green. So maybe you could get that from that picture alone. But it is a pretty big assumption to make, purely based on that.
Yeah. MTheBassman has found a roundabout with some cities or / villages pointed on them. And there we go. There is in fact Sardinia, and that is a major city name in what?
I think it...
trying to read it and then he zoomed out.
It's Carbonia.
But Carbonia, yeah. So unfortunately for RadoX, as he comes to that same intersection, and we'll also zoom in on Sardinia, MTheBassman has managed to find it as well, which means not enough point differential here for him to make a comeback, Calamity.
Yep. And with only a minute to go, we'll see if either of them manages to pinpoint this one exactly, because that is quite difficult to do. They've traveled quite a distance to get to where they are right now, and even finding where they are right now is not too easy. With only 50 seconds to go, they're running out of time quickly, and Sardinian villages can be a bit tough to pinpoint. But we'll see if either of them manages to do so.
Yeah, RadoX will jump back to the start here to figure out where he might be, looking for some street names or a village name, but not a whole lot. So he will probably want to guess a little bit further outside of town, something like that. Not a bad move. Pay attention to the directionality of the road at the beginning, sort of northeast, southwest.
Yeah. And MTheBassman, I think, made
That's
a last-second correction there as well, which brought him about another few kilometers closer.
And they'll both be pretty close, just a little bit south, but unfortunately for RadoX, MTheBassman is even better in this round alone. 4,989 points for him, 4,955 for RadoX. So doesn't even make up points in this round. And that rough round number 4 will be the end of him. And pretty much, I think, guarantee his relegation, or at least relegation spot from Division 2.
You're a bit early there with guaranteeing his relegation.
I forget that they have extra weeks.
Yes.
My mindset is Division 4, which we only have 9 weeks.
Yeah, there's three more weeks to go here.
Yeah.
And he is in a bad position to get to 8th place and not have to play a relegation playoff. But the relegation playoff in and of itself is still very much within reach for him. And he did get a bonus point for his game here. So the current situation is that Seppo is on 7, Guelo is on 6, and RadoX is on 5 points. But Guelo still has his free win against Blockchain, and so does RadoX. So both of them will make up 3 points, which puts Seppo in last place currently. And Seppo still has to play Guelo and RadoX. So it certainly is... it certainly got a lot of excitement in the last 3 weeks here.
Yeah, that's really interesting that it'll come down to basically a bottom of the table fight with everybody up against each other here in the last few weeks. Yeah, sorry, RadoX, I always forget about these different numbers of weeks in the other divisions. So definitely still got a chance to come back out of this, and MTheBassman will be happy that he again, Calamity, keeps his mid-table position roughly.
He secures himself there.
He
he's now 6 points ahead of 9th place and 5 points behind 4th place. So he's pretty secure, and yeah, he'll probably not go out of that middle of the table spot.
Okay, well, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. As we've been talking about, we are nearing the end of the regular season here in Season 3, and you don't want to miss any of these matches, as their importance is even more magnified here, as it means either promotion or survival for our competitors in the next few weeks. And we'll see you all then. Take care.